and welcome back to Doz's Television Workshop, where today we're looking at a pair of Sennheiser HEV70 electrostatic headphones, and more importantly, a broken HEV70 amplifier. Let's get into it. Right, these belong to John. Apparently there's a blown fuse on the main board, he tells me. There's nothing to that. High voltage on, yeah, well, it would be if they're electrostatic. 24 volts, 500 milliamps. Apparently there's a 630 milliamp fuse in there. Right. Struggle to get that out of there. Huzzah. Right, what do we got? Oh, some instructions. Shan't be needing those much, you shouldn't think. Right, what do we got? How do we get in? End cap off, perhaps? Volume control, a power supply, 25.6 volts, 500 milliamps. That's not going to be regulated, is it? No, good. Right, okay. So we've got a Torx bit in the centre and then two Phillips screws there. Looking quite large, probably that one. So Torx in there, too large. It's a small posi. I got posi in there, have I? No, right. Okay. Probably that one there. Is that just spinning round? It is just spinning round. Always a worry. Yeah, see, that one's doing something. Oh no, maybe this, no, that one's not doing anything. It's one of those arrangements. Spin some screws on the other end. Right. Carefully extract the main board. Probably got to pull the volume pot. Maybe even extract the bezel here. Ah, yes. Yep, there we go. Whoa! Escutcheon around the volume pot. Then what do we do? Push. Pull. What have we got? I'm going to push this way. Nope. There are some, there are some flat screw heads in there, which I believe, yeah, they're just gripping the board and holding it tight. Okay. Slacken these off, turn a two each. It's not keen. Oh, I'll tell you for why. The top of this heatsink on whatever this is stuck to the back of the case. Well, that's going to be interesting. Let's see if we can just manipulate it with the tweezers. I think we're going to want to go that way, really. Oh, it's all the way along. No, there's a gap. I can see down there. God, why aren't you coming apart then? Can't see any other screws. Here's something sort of loose. Yeah, the board is moving back and forward. Just doesn't want to pop out. Ah, there we go. Okay. So, what have we got? Phonos in and out, is it? Presumably there's an in and an out. Line in and a line out. Yep, okay. Presumably this is some sort of switched mode power supply. Everything looks in a reasonable, everything looks in very good nick. This would appear to be some form of voltage multiplier to get the high voltage required. This little device on the end here is a Wickman fuse at 630 milliamps, which John informs me has failed open. I mean, he's not tempted to change it though. He might be lucky here and just wants a fuse. Certainly open. This diode straight across it. What's that looking like? Okay, so what's... There's no... hang on, it's that one to there. Doesn't appear to have much in the way of a load across it. So, we might just get away with this being super lucky and it just be the Wickman fuse open. Let's get that out and find something suitable to go in there. Perhaps somebody put the managed to connect the power supply. So that's 26 volts DC. Well, I'm quite half tempted to switch the power supply on, limit ourselves to 600 milliamps, switch on and see what happens. What are we at? 26 volts, 25 point something, that'll do. But yeah, I'll need to put... I won't allow it to draw any more current than that, so yeah. What does that push button do according to the front? On. Yeah, all right. Okay, so I've set the power supply up to a safe current limit. We need to work out which is positive and which is negative. Right, that one goes to the ground everywhere. And is there a suitable place I can hook on to the... Yeah, of course, on the bottom of that diode. Now, this is going to make some high voltage. Quite a lot of high voltage. So I just want to be very aware that there's going to be a number of volts here. And to steer well clear for a moment or two. Right, let's switch on, see what happens. And it just comes on. And, ooh, no, it's fading away. Started to draw a lot of current as it came up. Oh, and it stinks. That, everyone, is a rotting capacitor smell. Oof. Which one is it? It's definitely electrolytic. It could be any of these little surface mount fellas, but they're generally solid. That's absolutely reeking. I've got a 680 at 50 volts and two 10s at 400. That one I'm suspicious of. It's sort of leaning at a bit of an angle. Don't know if you can see that on the camera. Let's have a zoom in. You see it's at an angle. That's nice and straight, nice and straight, nice and straight. Bit of an angle. I wonder if it's popped the bottom of it out. And there's the phone. So I should be back in a minute. Give me a moment.
Eventually.
Right, that's the wife. She's on the way home from work, so that's all good. I'm going to get that capacitor out of there. And if this starts stinking as soon as I get on it, that'll be our problem. We'll add some fresh solder to that. I have to say it's... Oh, and there's the smell. Oh! Where was it? That one there. I should do the jiggle it out trick. Actually, we might just invest in some braid. If one of these capacitors has failed, I'm going to do the sensible thing and change them both. Because they've both been in there the same length of time. They're both in the same sort of position. I don't want to come back, so if it is this part, it's going to be stubborn. I haven't got a lot of room to work it back and forward, so that's half my battle here. Come out. That's it. Oh. Well, it's not that one then. If I was going to be a betting man, that was going to be my bet. We'll just have a measure of that anyway. Just short it out. So what do we got? 10 mic at 400 volts. Open circuit and low capacitance. I know. 10 microfarads, 3 ohms. Well, that's about right, isn't it? I wonder if we can do a nose job on it. Let's just analyse it very carefully and see if I can see anything physically leaking. Oh, hang on. Yes, I can. There it is. I shall hold it up. If you look in there, there's corrosion all the way across the board. That little fella there has let go. That is 22 mic. Oh, it's all over the board now I'm looking at it. Something did let go. So which one is it? Closer inspection required. Right, I have received some reputable parts from a reputable supplier in the post. So we can press on with changing out these nasty little electrolytics. It's the first time I've opened this package actually, so we best just ensure the right stuff's turned up. And it's all here. Those are for another job. This is what we need for ours. So we've got 4.7 mic, 35 volts radial. They go in there. Lovely. We've got 47 mic, 16 volts that go down behind this can. We're going to have to remove that can, I think, which is tricky because it's got a regulator bolted to it that's horribly bodged up, but we'll get there. Those are the Wickman type fuses. What's this? 22 mic, 6.3 volt radials, which are all these little fellas down by that side of the can. The one we've already taken off. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. 22 mic, 16 volt. 20 mic, 16 volt. What were they for? So we've got 22 mic at 6.3. 22 mic at 16. Those two there. Good. We've got the bits. Excellent. Right. Now, what I actually need to do here is clean off all this muck on the board. And to do that, because one, it's probably conductive. Two, it's going to be, it's going to smell horrible. It already smells bad enough as it is, but no, it needs to be cleaned up. So yeah, we'll clean all that off of there. So I think the best thing we can do with this, now what I used to do in years gone by, there was a certain brand of video recorder that used to suffer really badly with this, and I actually used to get the board in the sink and give them a good scrub, and that used to work well. However, I'm a little bit concerned about this because we've got this sort of voltage multiplier here, which is high voltage, to drive the electrostatic bit of the headphones. So yeah, not so sure I really want to submerge that and get it wet and nasty. So I think what I'm going to do is just use a little bristle brush, submerge this in a thin layer of IPA and clean it up that way. One thing we need to be very, very careful of when doing this is IPA is very flammable. It burns with an almost clear flame. So we want to make sure we're not going to create any sparks. We're on an ESD bench anyway, so that's good news. But yeah, it just needs cleaning up because we don't want it conducting, and I don't want to smell that as I'm soldering it. Right, let's get on with that. Okay, that fits in there. I'm going to use the last of my IPA out of my drop bottle for the simple reason is I need to refill it anyway, and that'll take any of the dregs out of it. And I've got a gallon of the stuff that's not kept in the house. We shall just pour some in there, just enough to cover the board. And yeah, I'm just going to let that sit. Let's zoom in a bit. Where are you? There you go. I'm just going to let that sit for a few minutes and just try and loosen off some of that stuff. Refill that bottle later, just to try and loosen a bit of that off before I start getting at it with a brush. Right, I shall see you in a minute. Right, it's had a little while to sort of ooze now, so let's just see if we can get anywhere with cleaning off some of this corrosion. It's horrible. It really has got everywhere. I just want to rinse off a little bit around the capacitors we're going to be changing. Try and get as much. Some of it will undoubtedly be stuck under the capacitor and still reek, but we can clean that up as we go. I want to get the majority of it off. It does look like it's leached into the copper in places. which is not great news, I have to say. But it is what it is. The certain video cassette recorder power supply used to do back in the days gone by, that used to really suffer. And the joke was the capacitors in that were called long life, and they were anything but. So yeah, they were particularly troublesome, and occasionally you get it. So the capacitors themselves, the board itself became conductive with the sort of ooze that had leached into it, and at that point you were on a hiding to nothing. All the cleaning in the world wouldn't restore those power supplies, and I'm hoping that hasn't happened here. I'm exceptionally, I don't think you can see that bit just to the left of the brush. Can you see those two lines just by my finger there? That's the sort of corrosion that worries me, because it sort of gets into the board and then you're in trouble. I'm going to have a little closer look at that now. Just drain the worst of that off. I think in these points the telephone might ring, and then I have to stop. Right, the bit that really concerns me is some of this corrosion down here, just by my brush. If I can get this in the light, right, there you go, you can just see it just to the left of the tip of my brush there, and there and there. It looks like it's eaten through the copper and into the board. Let's see if we can zoom in a bit further on that and I'll show you. I have to turn the light down so you can see properly. That might be better. Let's zoom in. Too far. Yeah, you can just see those two sort of lines, one there and one there, look. And that really concerns me, because that's the sort of corrosion I used to see on those supplies, which would write them off. And there's also a little bit right in the corner of that one trace. And it can get so bad, in fact, that it eats through the copper itself. So I'm just going to have a quick look under the old loop and see if there's any signs of that happening. And yeah, in one place I think it may have dissolved the copper. That's not to say we can't affect a repair in there. Yeah, that first one, which is just, where are we? That first bit there, very thin trace in the middle, I'm extremely concerned about. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out. Of course, we can pin it out anyway to see if it's continuous or not. Appears to be on the volume control side by the look at that. Yeah, and you can see there, this side with the big red capacitor, you've got that warning high voltage there, which is the electrostatic side of things. So how does the actual goo look? Well, it doesn't look too bad now, I don't think. So I think we'll just leave it to soak for another few minutes and then take it out and let it sort of dry off a bit. This can is going to be a pig to remove, but we're going to have to do a work around it just because of this regulator on the other end. So we're going to untack that resistor there. It's a bit complicated. Oh, it'll be all right. It's no use like it is now, so there we go. I'm just going to leave that to soak for another 10 minutes, quarter of an hour or something. Maybe another little brush again, and then take it out and let it dry. So yeah, pop back in a minute. Right, everything's dried out nicely. Looks like we got rid of a lot of this. I can actually, that trace I was worried about in there, I can actually see it. So although there is some damage occurred to it. It doesn't look too bad. What does concern me is it's happened. Can I bring the board up a bit? Where are we there? It's happened around the vias. So whether that stuff has soaked in to the board and has remained conductive, I don't know. You will notice there's a capacitor missing there, and that's because I was seeing if I could do an old trick. We used to do this. This failure of these electrolytic capacitors used to happen a lot in the 80s and 90s in camcorders. And sure enough, this dates from, what was it, 16th week of 94, is that maybe? Whereby the capacitors leak badly. And there was a trick, and that is to just snap them off the board. That one is 22 microfarads at 16 volts. As are, 16 volts. Let me just look at that one very carefully. Those are 6.3 volts, those two. 22 at 6.3. That's 22 at 16. Let me just make a note of that. I need a writing stick and some stuff, because I'm going to snap all of those three off in one go. Because it will make it easier if we can change them from this end forward, getting a soldering iron in, rather than that end going that way. Because obviously if I replace that one now, I'm in the way for this one, etc. And then I'm blocked eventually by that green capacitor there. So, oh, I've got a pen with hardly any ink in, that really helps. What's this, 22 at 16. And those were 22 at 6.3, weren't they? 22, 6.3, 22 at 6.3. So that's the order, and I'm going to attempt to snap those little fellas off now. And I hope we don't damage the board. So I'm just going to bend him over. Generally, what happens is you rip the legs out and you leave the legs in. You can sort of take it all apart from there. So if you look at this one, I don't know if you'll be able to see that on camera. It's still got the rubber sealing. We just pulled the legs clean off the book, left the legs sort of in the board, and oh, that one's just snapped straight off. That's how it used to happen. Unfortunately, we've still got some goo underneath it. So something else I'm just going to mark on my diagram, that the black side of the capacitors is on this side here. There. Oh God, I'll make a terrific artist. Don't say a word. Let's just try and snap this third one off, and then I'm going to again clean some of that gunge off. Brilliant, those have gone really well. Don't try that on cheap and nasty boards, because simply you'll just lift all the print off and then be in a right pickle. And for this, I'm just going to use a cotton wool swab and my newly refilled bottle of IPA. Yeah, nasty. Right, so we've ripped those clean off the board. Now, if you look closely, in fact, let's see if I can zoom in a shade. Okay. Too much. Go on, focus. You know you want to. Come out a little bit more. Yeah, you can just see that on camera. So if you look, you can still see a sort of impression of the leg in the solder there. Just on there. So you can see even clearer now where that sort of goo has gone in down the vias and gone that way. So we need to sort of level that up a bit. So I'm going to paint some flux on there. Each one, I'll be quite liberal with it. And just level that up with the iron and a bit of fresh solder, so we can in fact, there There's a bit of leg left in there. See that there? That's a bit of leg. Is this one going to be the same? Yep, it is. Okay, well that's no problem. We can fetch that all off in a minute, because I just want to get this, a nice bit of fresh solder on there, so we can in fact... Oh, and there's the stench. Oh, that is nasty. Who'd want to do this for a living, eh? Right, let's just clean all this stuff off. Prepare for the stench again. I swear this stuff does leach into the board, I'm sure of it. I'm just hoping it makes a recovery. Okay, that's not looking too shabby. I'm just going to have another little clean up. Right, those pads are looking nice and clean now, so I'm just going to clean it up a little more. Cleanliness is next to godliness or something. Right, so what do we need? We need the first one, which is going to be this far left one here, 22 at 6.3. 22 at 16, 22 at 6.3. I've got a great big package of them, so that's good stuff. Let's just get one out. What am I going to want? Ah, these pliers here. Peel the backing off a bit. There we go. Get one out. 22 mic, 6.3, black towards our shield there. So that is going to sit in there like that. Now, do I attempt to just solder that on? Because that is sitting quite nicely, I think. Or am I going to get the microscope out and put it all under that? I'm not sure. I tell you what, that's not sitting badly at all. If that wants to stay like that and play the game, I will be a happy man. Let me just get the tweezers on the go. Just plucking back out. Put a bit of fresh flux back on the whole three things again, because it's not going to take us long to do these. There, bit of flux. Place our capacitor back on. Lucky people. Line him up. Nice shot of the back of my head as usual. Hey, you get two shots of the back of my head now. I bet there's a load there. I'm doing this with unassisted vision. Well, not unassisted vision, because you can tell I wear glasses, but without my loop or my magnifying glass, my magnifying microscope, sorry. So let's have a go at it, just so you can see. What I really want is one of those ones with a screen on it. By Jove, I think we've got it. Now, I've only done that one leg so far. I'm just going to give it a nudge to make sure it's taken, which it has. And I can get around the back here and solder that one up. Damn you, Tremor, why do you have to start now? You were good a minute ago. Oh, the smell's revolting. I'm just going to have a close look at that with my magnifier, check we've got it down. And the answer, I don't think, is positive. I'll go down the hole. Thank you. I've got a little blob of solder just on the side of there, which I want to get rid of. I think it's stuck in the spacer. Oh, bear with me just a moment. I'm not sure what I'm doing now. I'm just going to hot that little blob of solder up. The smell is horrible. Right, let's have a warm that back really. Let's just have a little look in there. Maybe get a meter on it. I can't quite see enough. What I need to do is do this under a microscope. Unfortunately, I haven't got, like I say, a microscope with a recorder or a screen on it, because you'd be able to see everything that way. No, we're good as gold. Fabulous. Right, what are we doing? We're doing the same again. To 22 mic at 6.3 volts. Right, that's got this sort of bulk changed. I'm going to leave these ones till last because they're going to be quite easy to do and tackle this next. I've already removed the one solder pin from this shield that sort of goes around this power supply area here. I think what I need to do is actually remove this heatsink from this side of the shield. The shield sandwiches between the regulator and this heatsink. So I'm just going to undo that nut there. Now I have somewhere an M3 sized nut spinner, which I shall try and locate. If not, we shall just undo the screw and have done with it. Maybe I should just use my diminutive adjustable spanner. Just try and get that to start undoing. Oh, yeah. That's actually worked very well, I think. Why do I find this completely unintuitive to use? When I want it bigger, I always go the wrong way. Or no, it's something my brain doesn't allow me to understand the way that thing works. There we go. This is coming a bit loose now. Need to get pliers on it just to take that out, just so I can lift it away from this plate. Looks like it might have a bit of therm path behind it. We can deal with that. Okay, this nut has a little captive sort of star lock thing behind it. Don't see them very often. We've got a bucket of washers. Oh no, it's a star washer again. It's sort of like dished. You can see that on the camera. It's like a dished thing. So yeah. Let's see if we get the heatsink out in one go. Yeah, that's got a star washer behind it as well. So that has left us, let's zoom in a bit. There it is. So that's got all of that free, except for this little electrolytic capacitor. Looks to be in good condition, by the way. Is actually soldered to the heatsink, sorry, the shield there. So I'm just going to get the iron in there and just get that to come off. There we go. So I'm now free there. So now it's just a job of unsoldering all those points so we can lift the shield out. Right. Can I sort of squeeze my way around it, I wonder? So that'll be the next one. Sort of pull them out as I go. I think I'm going to want the bigger soldering iron tip. Where's the really big one? Well, that's a result. That's going to be a bit of a pain to put back together, but we're there. Oh, the smell. I'm just going to open the window because that's horrible. Oof. Oh no. Suboptimal blind failure. Never rains, but it pours. In fact, it's raining at the moment on account of, you know, British summer. Right, what have we got left to do? 3 there. So they are all 47 mic 16 volts. Let's draw myself another quick little sketch. So they're all pointing that way. 1, 2, there's one right over here, that way, and they are all 47 mic 16 volts. A lot of point in drawing that out, really, but well, you never know. I may have a brain fart or something, or get to take him out and get called for dinner or something, you know. Right, that's those 4 in place. Now, I suppose the next trick is to get that shield back in. So, yeah, let's do that. Excellent. Well, I've got the shield back in place, done all the soldering around there. It's gone rather well, really. One thing I've noticed, I just put some new therm path on the back of the 24 volt regulator. I've noticed there's none on the back of the little heatsink that goes with it, though. So I'm going to add a bit to that because I think it's prudent, and I'm going to get it all over my hands again. I've just cleaned myself as well, never mind. There we go, just a smear on there will do nicely. Yeah. Right, so that's going to go back in there. Well, these 4 left to go. Excellent. Now to make that small repair in here. Get some flux on that end of that diode. I'm just going to zoom in a little so you can see, hopefully. Go on, focus. You know you want to. Never going to happen. There we go. So what I've done is we've just lost the pad there. Connects between the tab of that transistor and that diode like that. So we'll just get everything fluxed up. And I'm going to put a wire in there. And just hold that down. Right. Okay. We've already got that fluxed up. A little bit of Kynar wire. Just let it come around there like that. That's exactly in line with the shadow of the pad. I can just see on there. There we go. Just made that through to there. There's a blade. There we go. I need one of those recording microscope things that other channels have. We need one of those. I'll put one on my Christmas list. A little screen and a built-in recorder. We used to have one at where I used to work. We got some very posh ones at the current place, but yeah. I can't really borrow one of those, and to be honest, I don't find the quality of the cameras very good. The less expensive one we had where I used to work actually worked quite a bit better. That little wire has just come out exactly in the right place. There's a lot of corrosion by there as well. Well, stench of corrosion, so that one was obviously leaching badly. And that is it. So I think the next thing to do is, I'm not going to replace that fuse just yet. Where are we? That one there, in those 2 pads. I'm going to power the board up from the power supply, limit the current, and see if it tries to pull more, or so it would attempt to blow that fuse again. Right, let's engineer that. One thing I have got to be aware of when I do that is this voltage on these connectors at the end here is going to be considerable. So yeah, this bench is static dissipative, so it does have a sort of resistance to it. It's not completely conductive. Right. Positive, yeah, okay. The moment of truth. No. Oh. Something just sparked, didn't it? I didn't see what that was. Something smelt horrible. Right, switching on again. Whoa. It's from under this FET. Try again. Yep, there's a lot of arcing going on under that FET. Right by that capacitor we've just changed. Oh, right. I think they're FETs. Don't know. I'm guessing. It is a BSP 125. Let us have a quick internet search for BSP 125. It is a MOSFET. Right, I think we get some hot air in there, and we just attempt to lift that off and see if it's actually damaged or there's some unpleasant leaching from there going on. But yeah, this is not good news. Right, okay.
One eternity later.
Okay, so I had a little difficulty obtaining a FET actually. Got there in the end. But what does concern me is when this flashed over, it sort of flashed over to this trace in there. Let me zoom in. So, no, too far. Come back. Back a bit more, maybe. A bit more still. There we go. So, this trace here, it flashed over there. Now, the trace is still contiguous, so I beeped it out. So, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. So what I thought I might do is put some of this ultraviolet solder resist stuff just against that trace to try and bolster the insulation a little. It's got to be thin though, it's got to be very thin, otherwise we're going to end up with an issue with not being able to seat the FET on there. But I thought we might just give it a chance, so I'll just put a thin smear on the end of this screwdriver. Let's see if we can't just put a thin layer on there. That looks good. That's the area I'm really concerned about. Put the cap back on this stuff and wipe the excess off my hands. Horrible. Look at that. We shall get my ultraviolet torch and just leave that for a couple of seconds just to cure.
5 minutes later.
Okay, the compound has now gone hard. So that's good news. Let's just take this FET out of the packaging. There it is. I'm just going to make sure the board's alright, because one of those tracks looks a little offset to me, so maybe we need to tweak it slightly. I'm going to don the magnifier so we can see what I'm doing, and you'll probably get a shot of the back of my head. Yeah, he's just moved slightly. This board really isn't very robust. Right, that's better. So let's position our FET. Okay. I don't really want to use hot air on this. I think it might be detrimental. We've got a lot of other components around there, so I'm just going to hand solder it in position. It's quite a big part really, so if I get the thing in position, oh come on. I have to say I'm not confident at all we're going to be able to effect a decent repair to this. I'm seriously concerned about the health of this PCB since it's had all that spillage on it. Well, not spillage, but electrolyte damage. Right, that's sort of in position. So let's tin the iron up. I'll try and get that tab down first, because that's going to give us some structural strength to be able to solder up the other 3 pads. Oh, this is not the day to have a tremor, is it? Not exactly pleasant. That's it. Got it. Got it. Right. So we've just got to make the connections to the package proper. Where are you on the camera? What is that one? Right. In we go. I'm going to get a dollop more flux on there, I think. There we go. That's it. One more to do. And there we go. That's it, soldered into position. Let's just have a little clean up, shall we? Cotton wool bud and a bit of IPA. Not actually sure that first connection's taken. We just have another look at it. Maybe just a little more heat in there. Appears to be sat on top of the pad. Yeah, he's okay. Right. Let's widen the angle out again. I'm going to turn the light off because I just want to be very careful that if it does go flash, we can see it. Right. Set a sensible current limit. Right, I am just going to replace that fuse because this is really a last-ditch attempt at repair. If this doesn't work, I'm going to be giving up, I think, because it's just got too much damage to it to want to continue. Right. There is our new Wickman type fuse. Just check it's correct. Yep, 630 milliamps. So that's good. Let's just flux these holes up a bit so it gives the tool a good chance of filling the hole. Heat gun is coming up. Desoldering gun, I should say. There we go. So let's get on the reverse side, I think. That one didn't quite clear through. Oh, it's got a horrible build-up on the top. There we go. Might just leave that lead long, it'll make it easier to connect my crocodile clip to. Let's just do that. Ground to that side there. And let's just dim the lights just in case something flashes over again. Switch the soldering tool off because it's making a noise. And 3, 2, 1, go. Oh dear. Something is dead short. That's because I'm wired it up round the wrong way. Stupid boy. That is our ground there. Right. Here we go with a moment of truth. No. And you can see, look at that FET, it's boiling. You can see that. That is getting very, very hot. You can just see the stuff boiling around it. Yeah. Oh dear. And it's at this point I have to say enough, I think. What's happened is the electrolyte from these capacitors has leached into the board, and we've got unintended conductive paths within the actual substrate of the board. I've seen it dozens of times in the 90s, and yeah, that's where this one ends. What a shame. There you go, a miserable failure attempting to repair this Sennheiser HEV70 electrostatic headphone amplifier. Great shame, because I was really looking forward to hearing what this sounded like, but sadly not to be. We used to suffer that particular problem. The electrolyte leaches out of the capacitor into the fiberglass of the board, and when you're in that situation you get resistive paths between tracks. Stuff is doing things it shouldn't be doing, and there's no resolving it really. We used to suffer with this problem terribly in the 90s with a certain brand of video recorder, but there we go. Not a lot we can do about that one, I'm afraid. So 26 quid in bits wasted and a load of time. Never mind. Hope you enjoyed watching me fail. If you did, click like, subscribe, do all that rubbish, and I'll see you very soon, hopefully with some success here on Doz's Television Workshop. Cheers now, bye. Hello and welcome back to Doz's electronic. It's not electronic, it's television. Twat.